Hello, everybody. This is the Cells at Work review, episode 8, Blood Circulation. My name is Jeff, and with me, as always, are Coby and Torie.
Hey.
Hi, I was waiting for your setup. You always go say hello, Coby and Torie, and when we have the hilarious joke, hello, Coby and Torie, but then you didn't set us up for that
Yeah,
one.
I know. I wanted to see how you'd react.
And this is where we're at right now.
I wanted a new joke to be crafted.
Yes,
from spontaneity.
and
The joke ended up being that you repeated the old joke before.
God,
So funny.
That was just.
oh man,
I couldn't predict that would happen.
nope.
It was still funny though.
I
Agreed.
give it a kind of funny.
A kind of funny out of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a good one.
So yeah, we are now on episode 8, and this is all about blood and blood circulation. And following up from the last episode, I know some of us might have been a bit apprehensive about this one because last episode was so great, and it seemed we were returning to more normal things in the body. We're no longer in the realm of cancer cells. So I am curious to see what you guys thought about this episode. But I guess I'll give a quick rundown, and we can discuss as we go along with the episode, like we usually do. How does that sound?
I like it.
Sounds pretty good.
So, red blood cell. It begins with her. And you know what? She's a whole new
What?
woman.
She's what?
She's determined to not rely on other people as much, and she's going to do everything on her own and not be in anyone's way. So, hooray. It looks like they are taking notes from Coby's desire notebook.
Yes, because that was my one thing from the start of the series. Is just like I want red blood cell to kind of come into her own a little bit more. Like I like that shtick. You know, she's always lost and she needs help, but there comes a point where I wanted her to do stuff on her own.
And that's exactly what happens this episode. Or is it?
Dun-dun.
Dun dun
Because what happens next? Well, what happens in every episode? White blood cell, aka neutrophil, comes out of the woodworks to defeat a germ/bacteria/virus that was just about to kill a red blood cell. So, yeah, neutrophil comes out and ganks someone. And that's at that point where I was like, oh man, I thought this was going to be purely all about red blood cell, and then white blood cell comes in and ruins the red blood cell party.
Yeah, I mean, he is doing what a white blood cell needs to be doing, killing germs.
Yeah, although they do salvage it a bit in that red blood cell is determined wholly to do everything on her own, and white blood cell senses this and kind of backs off for a bit. Not completely, because for the rest of the episode, as red blood cell does her red blood cell thing, neutrophil is kind of hanging out in the shadows, just sort of watching out for her and ganking bacteria in secret and secretly holding up signs for her and just making sure,
passing her notes
Yeah,
and giving her hat back.
yeah. And like I said, at first I was like, oh man, neutrophil is in this episode. I thought it was going to be all about red blood cell. But, I don't think this episode would be as entertaining without him. And at the end of the day, it was very sweet. It's sweet seeing neutrophil be less of a killer and more of a caretaker, I guess we could say.
But at the same time, doesn't he have more important things to do?
There's a bunch of other white blood cells. They're all fine.
You sure?
You know what? He's like MVP neutrophil. I think he deserves a day off.
Yeah, he's killed all of the major ones
Pretty
here,
much.
so he's fine.
Yeah.
I guess so.
He just beat cancer last episode. Give him a break.
Yeah.
I guess so. He beat the baddest of the bad. So
And on
he-
his day off, he's still working, sort of,
Yeah,
he's
did-
protecting red blood cell.
He did kill a few germs on the way, I guess. And I mean, technically, he doesn't really have to be stalking her, even though he is, obviously. But he could just be hanging out in the, the heart. They
Yeah,
need white blood
yeah.
cells there too.
And-
I think.
Anywhere he goes, he's needed anyway. So he
Yeah.
could really spend his days doing whatever the hell. And I mean, there will be germs to kill. There will be bacteria
Yeah.
to fight. There will be viruses to gank violently with his sharp knife.
And to get blood all over his white suit.
Yeah, and then instantly clean somehow.
Yeah.
Very handy.
And to grab people's hats and give them their notes.
Yeah.
See, here's what I want to talk about, because this is my major contention with this episode that's both a negative and a positive, is that one, it takes away a red blood cell story, a red blood cell centric story, and morphs it into a white blood cell story. I think this episode could have been completely devoted to red blood cell and have her actually do things on her own instead of white blood cell helping her. So I thought that was a knock against it. But then at the end, it turns into a really good white blood cell story. Like, I thought that message really drove it home about how he wants to be connected with his other cells and how he wants to, be friends with people. And because you're living in this body of trillion cells, why not get to know one another a bit more, And I thought that was a really strong ending. So as upset as I was that it jacked a red blood cell story, turning into a strong white blood cell story, I can't be that upset, Like, I'm torn between whether I like this episode or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as you. Yeah, like I said, I was a little bit miffed when white blood cell first appeared, but then I was kind of on board once I saw the little cute moments and stuff. And I know we all want red blood cell to have like her own major story beat, like, maybe she does some supremely heroic thing that really shows how much out of her shell that she can really be. But I don't think we're ever going to get that, and I think it's really a limitation of the red blood cell functionality. Like, basically all the cells have been doing their jobs. These are cells at work. So I don't really know.
She's not going to do it. And like red blood cell said, she's like, she didn't change her character completely. She made small strides to become a better person, like a better cell. Like, it wasn't like a huge change. It was a small change. So even though, white blood cell helped her out, she still was able to do a little bit on her own, and it's a tiny progression of things in order to evolve and change, because change doesn't happen overnight. Change happens in small doses. So this was just the first step in her becoming a full functioning actual red blood cell. So again, I can't really fault it for that because the story makes sense. It's just how do I criticize it when it's just my personal what I want,
For sure.
I don't know. I'll criticize it. Kind of like what you said, that this was a chance for red blood cell to actually be redeemable. But I don't think we're ever going to get that chance. This was the one and only episode that was centered on her to make this conscious decision to do everything on her own and make it on by herself. And by having red blood cell or white blood cell there to help her out in the background, I think it takes away from her victory, and we'll never be able to actually get that development from her. And I mean, maybe it'll change her character a little bit because in her head she thinks she did it all by herself. But from us watching, we're never going to think that of her. We're still going to think of her as, useless and getting lost all the time and,
Yeah, but I mean, all things considered, right? I mean, what did white blood cell help her out with, really? Well, he basically just protected her from germs and stuff like that. And yeah, he helped her pick up her notes and her hat and stuff like that, but
and
it was all
signs, take the detour.
But like, it was
still her.
It was still mostly her. You saw her taking a conscious effort to write down her notes, and without that much direction, she was able to navigate through the heart, which is the most complex part of her job, apparently. And yeah, she did that.
Which I don't understand, because that map is pretty fucking simple. Like, it's just a loop.
And I was going to say that too. Her journey was not that hard. Everyone was going the exact same direction. I'm assuming they're not going to make any detours in the heart because there's really only one way to really go in and one way to go out.
I think you guys got to lower your standards for red blood cell. Because
I see that.
Someone who gets lost constantly is going to have problems even in a place that seems straightforward.
Who gets turned around a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think
Point
for the most
conceded.
I still think she has a considerable victory on her hands. And it might be overshadowed by a neutrophil, but if you edited this episode and you just took out all of Neutrophil's scenes out, I think you would find that the story would still make sense. Because all of what he did was behind the scenes, and it wouldn't, because really her biggest problem is getting lost, right? Well, she didn't really get lost, and there was only that one part where, Neutrophil hung up that sign for her, which... Was that actually Neutrophil that hung up the sign?
Yeah, that was Neutrophil. That was white blood cell.
Yeah, I know, but was that sign always there, or did he actually put it up?
I think he just turned it around, right? Because it was just down. Yeah, I think it was always up.
Yeah, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, he must have put that sign up just for her. But thinking back on it, that might not necessarily be the case. It could have, because there are signs in this world. There was a whole screen, like an electronic screen with an infographic as to what to do and where to go and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's too far-fetched to believe that sign was already there. And that was just kind of like a cool hiding spot for Neutrophil to see her,
What'd you guys think of that infographic? I liked it.
It was cute.
That was cute.
Yeah,
It was a good way for both the cells and the audience to understand because I think if we put on this as this show as an educational show first and foremost, I think that's what this episode kind of succeeded at because it really showed exactly all levels of the heart and how blood circulates through it in a very kind of fun way. So if this was just a tool for teaching, I think this episode's a really good success.
And they didn't use the narrator.
Yeah, they did.
They did a lot.
They did
I
a
was
lot.
thinking-
Did they do it a
yeah,
lot?
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I thought I only used it like once.
no, probably at least 3 times in like consecutive. Every time they brought up a new part of the heart, she would be like,
Oh, I thought it was all
"Aorta."
explained from the infographic thing.
No.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It's like a lot. It's like, which is good because like I didn't understand the heart, but the problem is like even after the narrator, I was still having trouble following just because I'm not good at anatomy. So
Yeah, I thought the infographic was good. I thought they should have used that more often because, like you said, with an educational perspective, it makes it be understand a little bit more than someone just reading text at you.
So do you guys think this is education foremost or entertainment foremost?
Definitely
this
education.
episode, I would say education.
But so you think, Torie, this is education foremost as well? This episode specifically?
Yeah.
What about the show as a whole?
The show as a whole, I think, if I had to break it down, I would say 75% of it's educational.
Really? That much?
Ooh, I think that's a bit high.
I would probably put it as maybe 30 to 40% educational. And the rest of it is entertainment.
I guess I'd split the media. I'd say 50%, like 55, 60% educational.
So you're basically half and half. More
'cause
education.
I think
still.
it usually balances it much better. I just thought this episode specifically stood out to me as because there wasn't much plot going on along besides red blood cell finding her path. That it was a straight thing. She's like, let's describe how blood circulates through the heart. Like I felt like that was like in the writers' room. That was the big thing circled on the writers' board, and building an episode around that, as opposed to other things like, man, cancer cells cool, and then what if they fought each other. Building off around that. This one, I specifically thought their goal was to describe the circulation in the heart.
I think you've heard me rant about this before, that some of the characters in this anime are very, they're just doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're not really, they're saying what they're doing. They're doing what they're doing. There's not much development to them. So that's why I think it's more educational than story-driven. Except for from the last episode. Then from that, I think maybe I would lower my lower that percentage a little bit. But from that episode aside, everything I think of is that they're just doing what they're supposed to be doing, saying what they're supposed to be doing, and the narrator is there accompanying all of that with educational facts and notes.
So what I'm curious about is, I wonder if we're hypocrites because every time all these episodes we talk about how, man, we want something different than the usual format, which is, a cell pops up, red blood cell gets in trouble, white blood cell comes and saves the day. And it's been that way a few times. Every time, and as it's happened more and more, we're like, man, I wish we had something a little different. And then the flashback episode came. It's like, man, but that flashback didn't work very well in it. And now this time we're saying, even though this is a different format episode, we're like, man, this is a little off in terms of storytelling. Would you guys like to see more episodes like this one, or do you want to go back to the normal format of a bad, germ shows up and white blood cell saves the day?
Me personally, I prefer the bad guy showing up and the white blood cell fighting and stuff like that, because I just think that's more interesting to learn about. The blood cells circulating and stuff. Like this episode specifically, I still thought it was entertaining, but it was a bit lacking in terms of, I would say, my engagement with it. So, yeah, I mean, I think you guys really want more out of the show than I do. I'm perfectly happy with the show the way it is, in all honesty, because I don't expect this to ever develop into more than what I think it's supposed to be. And what I think it's supposed to be is, I think it's supposed to be entertainment with education sprinkled in. I don't think it's majority education like you guys do, because I mean, if you just break down the scenes and you break down the dialogue, I think that a majority of it is just for laughs or for cutenesses or for exciting, violent times. Yeah, I think a majority of it education. I disagree with it, but yeah, I'm fine with the show the way it is. Basically, what about you guys?
I will say that I did like the ending of this. You know,
I want to devote like this end section to the ending, because I think that ending is definitely worth talking about.
would you like to explain what happened in the ending for those who just listen to our podcast and don't watch it?
Sure, because I'm sure that's a large margin. Jeff, go ahead.
Sure. So basically, the rest of the episode happens with Red Blood Cell successfully navigating her way through the heart, and White Blood Cell is looking at her from a distance proudly. And Killer T Cell comes out of nowhere, and that's when Neutrophil tells him all about how, yeah, I think it's important to get to know these cells and to understand what they do in the body and how important their jobs are and their strengths and their weaknesses. And then, yeah, that's basically his spiel. But then Killer T kind of like punches him.
Kind of. He full on punches him.
Yeah, he gives him a light tap on the cheek with his heavy fist. And essentially just tells him, we're assassins. One day we might have to kill these cells too. You need to toughen up, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, and then after that, it seems that Neutrophil didn't heed his words because immediately afterwards he talks to Red Blood Cell about her day, and it ends off with the two of them kind of chatting on the bench. And then Killer T walks away, and he passes by another group of cells. You got B cell, Neutrophil, and generic cells just kind of chatting about things. And it seems that Killer T, despite what he said to Neutrophil, is actually envious of the relationships that these other cells are building. So yeah, that's the way it ends.
It's weird because just like what I thought while watching it, it's like when Killer T started doing his rant about how you can't be these cells' friends, the music swell around him framed it like he was right. Like his opinion was the correct opinion about it. Like the show was backing him. Like we're supposed to believe him. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, is he the good guy in all this? Like, I didn't understand what I was supposed to take away from that. I was like, how did you guys feel about Killer T's monologue? Were you on his side or not?
I think it was just Killer T being in character, because Killer T he's pretty extra, he loves killing cells even more than Neutrophil does. And in terms of the music swelling, I mean, I don't know if there is like a right or a wrong in this one. I mean, in the context of the show, we have seen that basically these cells, especially the white blood cells, will basically do whatever it takes to get the job done. Like when Neutrophil killed off Cancer Cell, he said right there, I have to kill you because this is my job. So yeah, I think Killer T is right in that sense. But I also do think Neutrophil getting to know the other cells is also important, which I think this episode also shows you is the correct answer as well, because they ended off on a happy note and Killer T walks off sort of envious of everyone else. So I think they're both right in that sense. But I also, what I want to mention is when Killer T said we might have to kill our fellow cells one day, I kind of thought that was maybe foreshadowing.
I thought so too.
Like maybe there might be an episode in the future where Neutrophil will be forced to kill a cell that he has gotten to know in a past episode or something like that. And if it was Red Blood Cell, that would be crazy.
Talk about dark.
Man.
You don't expect the show to be anything other than it is. That would be just a complete heel turn about like all of a sudden White Blood Cell has to kill Red Blood Cell and the platelets too, just so you can watch.
Now that would be crazy. I mean, yeah, I don't expect much from the show, but like that might be a possibility and it might be interesting. Not Red Blood Cell, not the platelets. Maybe I would put B cell in that category. Like he might have to gank B cell one day, but I don't know. I don't know how the body works. Like, does he turn into a cancer cell? Is that how he ends up ganking him? I don't know. I don't know what an anatomical reason there would be that would lead up to him having to kill a fellow cell. But I'm sure it's possible.
If you guys see it as foreshadowing, then it probably means that because the next episode is devoted. It looks like that's what really made this episode interesting to me. Knowing that next episode it looks like a Killer T background story. Like his upbringing, a flashback. Do you guys see the next episode, like preview? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it looks like his flashback episode. So if he has to kill a cell that was once his friend, and that's why he's in this killer mindset, then
that'll be cool.
Maybe that'll be interesting.
I think Killer T Cell's right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like, if you're gonna kill these cells, it's gonna make it much harder when you have a relationship with them. So he's right in his perspective. It's just when you have that possibility, you don't want to leave yourself vulnerable. Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't think there's no value in getting to know your fellow cells whatsoever?
Oh, I think there's value, but not when you're the assassin.
So if you're the white blood cell, you shouldn't have any friends? Is that what you're saying, Torie?
Well, I just don't think you should make a personal or romantic relationship.
I don't see this relationship as romantic. I don't know why you guys do.
What? How do you not see this as romantic? That is totally a romantic relationship.
No. You don't need to... Okay, what about this is romantic to you, Coby?
Their bond and...
Like, what makes this romantic specifically? Like, why can't it not just be like a platonic kind of friendship thing going on?
Let me ask you this question, Jeff.
Yeah.
If Coby was walking around lost in the city, would you follow behind him and help him out secretly to make sure he doesn't get lost and he accomplishes on his own?
Yeah, because Kobe's a friend.
That is not the actions of a friend. The way they frame this is not a friendly action. You're supposed to ship these two. You want these two to get together. They have a connection, even though they're two different types of cells. They're from different ends of the track. He's a killer who just thinks about ganking cells. She always gets lost. Together, they find connection with one another because she loves the fact that he's so dedicated to his cause and always saves her and just a generally nice guy. And he looks at her because he's lost his spark. Because he is just obsessed with killing nowadays.
No, okay, you're going too deep now. You're going too deep now. He lost his spark. No, he loves killing things. You can see it in his face.
That's a bit of a reach. But that doesn't mean he doesn't respect her desire and her love of, traveling around.
I don't disagree with that. I do think there's a special connection between them. I don't think it's necessarily romantic. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe you don't see romanticism in your eyes.
Yeah,
no,
it's looking at.
I just don't think this is a love story.
I think it's a love story for the ages.
Okay,
time. Romeo and Juliet.
So you guys think that they will get together, like they'll be dating?
No,
I don't think
well, then how the fuck is this
because
a romantic relationship?
It's a romantic, just because in a romance, the ones that you two ship together, they never get together. Because that's the point of the
That's
show.
not true.
You never put your romantic leads together because then that kills the show.
That's not true.
Will they, won't they is gone.
Yeah,
no, they put their romantic leads together in shows all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
But what anime do they do that? Because
Baby
unless
Steps?
it's a specific... Baby Steps is the fucking exception, and you know that.
No, it's not.
We talked about that in the anime, just in one that's not a specific romance anime that ends in romance. The main leads
This
never
isn't
get
a specific
together.
romance anime either.
That's what I'm saying, because it's not a specific romance anime that they won't get together.
Yeah, I think...
Because it's a will they, won't they.
I think they'll just build them with a romantic relationship, but they can't have a romantic relationship because they're cells. They just can't.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet.
That's why I don't think it's a romantic relationship in the first place. Because they're not gonna go there. I'm just saying there are two cells that support each other greatly, but I don't see sparks flying in the air. I don't see what you guys see.
Okay, let me ask you a question. How many romance movies have you watched? How many romance comedies or romance...
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it matters.
Why does it matter?
If you were to put this side by side with a corny so-called romantic...
Okay, you name one.
I don't know. I don't watch this.
Oh, well, then there we go. How the fuck would you know?
I was hoping... Kobe, you seem like you watch romantic movies.
Well, apparently Torie's quantification of whether or not you have a valid opinion on this is how many romance movies you've seen.
It's not about... Okay, it's about... The show wants us to ship these two. That's what they want us to. They don't want us to ship them as friends. They want us to ship them together. And the way, it doesn't matter if they get together or not, because they're never going to, but the way the show is created and animated and put together is supposed to invoke romantic undertones between the two. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, they're definitely going to get together or they're definitely not going to get together.
Yeah, they're not.
I'm saying that the way the show is framed is that it wants you to think that there's a chance that they could. That's what I'm saying.
I disagree.
Well,
all right, good.
Any viewers out there who know any romantic movies or watch
so you
them,
could support their argument.
Not even romantic movie. What do you guys think? Do you guys think this is like ask them? Do you guys are many fan who listens to this? Do you think that the show wants us to believe that these guys are a couple or not? That's the takeaway question.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if they do or not. It's just if you think they will.
If you think they'll get together?
Yeah, like if that's how you think, because that's what the show wants you to, how you want it to think.
I mean, okay, we have to be specific though. It's not, do you want them to get together? It's, do you think the show is deliberately implying that they would be a good romantic match for each other?
Good. Okay, I'm fine with that question because I think the answer is yes. Because it's like,
Well,
it's
okay,
like My
maybe
Hero
that's not the right
Academia.
question. Okay, because that's not, I don't think that's specific. Because, I mean, if I were to be asked that question, I guess I would probably answer yes as well.
Aha.
But that's not the right question. The right question is the show trying to ship them? There we go. That's probably the best one.
Okay. I'm also fine with that question because I think the answer is yes.
Okay. Well, in that case, I think the answer is no. I think they're fine as friends.
I think they're fine as friends as well. But the show keeps pushing this thing, you know. This
Want you to
they're
think.
making pink cells, you know. You know what I'm saying?
I don't see it.
All right. Well, okay. I think that was a good, healthy discussion.
Yeah, because we actually disagreed.
Yeah. Anything else about this episode that we should talk about? Any good moments that you really liked that you just want to say, man, this deserves a shout out?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, I like that it did add some more life into this.
Okay, I want to ask you, Torie, because you're always on and off this damn cells at work boat. Are you off the ship or not?
Okay, I was on the ship last week. Today, I'm like looking at the
You're on the
lifeboat,
plank.
and I'm like, you know what? It might be good to jump ship. I don't know.
I think you're on the ship till the end. You're never gonna leave. You know
No,
it.
I know.
You're trapped here with Coby and me,
I think
reviewing anime forever.
okay. I think if I were to watch this on my own without doing this podcast, I would deliberately choose not to watch it.
So you would have stopped several episodes ago.
If you would have given me last episode as the very first episode to watch, I would have kept watching it and I would have been thoroughly interested. That's my opinion.
Okay,
I
so
just
you would have
think-
stopped at like episode 1.
Yeah.
All right.
It
then.
just sucks because I think that was the best episode, and I don't know how they're going to make a better
No,
episode than the last episode.
Yeah, I agree. No, I don't know. I think they could create an emotional scene where White Blood Cell has to confront his allies when
Has
they
to kill
become
killer blood, killer
when
T-cell.
when they become infected or I don't know, diseased. And then they show flashbacks of all the moments they had together, and then like they'll throw it in their face like, "Weren't we friends? Like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on?" And
Jesus,
but-
you guys are fucking dark.
I know.
No,
but,
Torie's the dark
but
one.
the unfortunate thing
Nah,
is,
you're the dark one,
But
Coby.
White Blood Cell doesn't give much
I do love
emotion.
dark. If they did that, I'd love it.
I like even when I mean the last episode he said, you know, like I have to kill you anyway. And that was serious and that, you know, made a turning point in the story. But he was literally just exactly saying what he was gonna do. That's what he usually does. He says what he's gonna do and he does it. So I don't know if he can give off emotion that we can
But then
feed
that's
off
the
of.
point of the story. That's his arc. Then I think you're right. Then I bet at the end he will be confronted with a decision where he has to think about it for once, about whether he wants to kill this cell. It's not going to be red blood cell, but it's at least going to be a decision where he has to think about it, because we're presented with this character of just die, germ, die, 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 die. But then he meets these cells and becomes friends with them, and then he learns, you know, humanity a little bit. He learns to care and he learns about compassion, which means if you're following story convention, at the end he's going to be confronted with a choice whether or not, you know, if he's learned anything from that. I don't know. Again, if this is just a slice of life anime, there's a chance that will never be addressed. Like, they won't. But, you
One
know,
can
I
hope.
could see one can hope.
One can put this note into the notebook of anime that we will write one day.
Or a note that we would like gently slip on the editor's desk of this anime and say, "Hey, did you write the last episode yet?"
Hey, can you make red blood cell get infected, please?
Can you infect the platelets too? That'd be sweet.
Oh man, that would just be the worst. Okay, I can deal with red blood cell getting sick and he having to make the emotional decision to kill her, but the platelets, oh man, little chill. That would be like Star Wars, you know, when he like just stares at the kids and then
He turns on his lightsaber.
yeah.
They're like, what's happening? He's like,
Yeah.
like, die, germs, die. Like,
So wait, you're saying if he kills them When they're not infected?
No.
Because that would be the equivalent.
Infected. They're infected.
But
and
they're still...
And he has to
they're
make
still
the
cute and
decision to
stuff.
kill. Yeah, they're still cute.
Because I'm thinking like
That
little
would-
kid zombies.
Well,
And then they start... remember, like, well, that's never going to happen, but like, could you imagine a bunch of little kid platelets with like gray skin and red eyes, and they have like vampire teeth, and they're like chasing neutrophil through the streets?
that would I'd be okay with, because then he doesn't
I hope
have
they kill all
emotional
the cells, because all the cells in this body are dicks.
Yeah.
Like, they're really just all horrible things.
Hope they all get
Oh, look
cancer.
at her. She's such a dummy. She's such a dummy. Like, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Other red blood cell. I'm sure you had trouble.
Apparently not. Apparently she's the only one that's in trouble.
Apparently these neutral do-nothing cells do better than all these other immune cells are actually doing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow, what a commentary on society, probably. Not.
Maybe we're just talking about our own selves inside.
Oh, I'm not.
Our cells at work.
Oh, man.
I'm not.
Okay, let's end it right there.
God, for what I thought was going to be the shortest episode, turned out to be the longest.
I know. Let's get out of here.
All right.
Let's get out of here, guys.
Skilly dilly doo.
All right, thanks very much. You found us on Nerd Blaze. Like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment, talk to us. We love it. You found us on Nerd Blaze. We're also on Twitter at the Nerd Blaze. Yeah. Anything else?
Nope, thanks for listening. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.